Funny, isn't it? Even the dark has its pit stops. The mile runs cold when there's no one riding shotgun. No hitchers. No beer. No stories whispered to fill the tank. So here I am, parked beside a lake that pretends it's sleeping. Tahoe. Pretty little thing. But she's never really asleep. She listens. She always has. They call her Tessie now. Tahoe Tessie. It's a cute name. Horse name. Like she's a mascot. Not a mountain. But you and I, we know better. Don't we? Names change, but hungers don't. You see, back when the first shacks went up on these shores, long before anyone bothered to call this patch of blue a vacation destination, she had another name. They said the washout in the bayou saw her. Long shadow in the water. Eyes like lit coals under the moon. She didn't always take people, but she noticed them. That was enough. Now every fool with a boat and a beer thinks they'll catch a glimpse. Funny how people crave what they can't survive. Fuel gauge is damn near empty. Regular stories run this old beast. It tastes like sugar water compared to the premium stuff. The mild prefers the strange ones. The lost ones. Tales that bleed out slow and never quite die. This one's a name brand snack. Just enough to get. You ever notice how these lake monsters only swim in deep, cold places? Scotland, Iceland, Tahoe. All these spots where you can't see the bottom and your breath fogs before you swim. Places where the earth forgets the sun for a year or two. The kind of places that don't need monsters. They make them. And Tessie? She's patient. Doesn't need to thrash around her with boats. She waits. She lets the fog roll in, the wind settle, and when the surface is still, she moves with the wind. Something big. Too big. The kind of shape that mind won't draw right, even if it tries. Some say she's a remnant. Plesiosaur, Leviathan. Some leftover chunk of creation that refused extinction. Maybe. But I've seen it. Once. Maybe twice. Hard to say. Could have been her mother. Could have been me seeing what I wanted to see. Mile bends things that way. She came up just enough to break reflection. The whole lake trembled. Not because of the size, mind you, but because she brought silence with her. Not a bird, not a breeze, just that long line of water parting, slow as a bird. That's when I knew she wasn't hungry for flesh. She was hungry for attention, for someone to remember that she exists. Same hunger that drives every ghost, every legend, every fool chasing what should have been left alone. You ever wonder what happens to stories when no one tells them? They don't die. They sink. They wait. Stagnant. Tessie's been waiting a long time. I suppose that's what I'm doing too. Waiting for a reason to keep the engine warm. You ever notice how stories like this, the big names, keep people comfortable? Loch Ness, Mothman, Tessie. They're safe scares. You can sell them on t-shirts, print them on mugs, build gift shops around the events. The real ones though, the premium fuel, they don't sell that. Not in any place that I know. I prefer those. They burn clear. But the tank's empty, and the mile doesn't move unless I feed it, so here I am, drinking in the regular. You think she got lonely down there? Watching boats carve up her ceiling, engines coughing oil and noise into her lungs. Maybe she hums to herself, low and deep. Maybe that's what people mistake for younger people. Her voice rolling under the waterline. I heard it once. Sounded like someone laughing into a braid. The locals don't talk about her much anymore. They blame the tourists. But I think it's fear. The kind that doesn't make you scream, just makes you stop. Makes you look out across the lake at midnight and think, that's deep enough to see what's forever. You're right. It is. Bodies vanishing. Fishermen, hikers, lovers. Sometimes the water gives them back. Sometimes it doesn't. Once they float up together, they come up pale, eyes wide, mouths full of silk. Always the same expression. Like they finally saw something worth believing in. You should see how calm she looks under the water. No ripples. No guilt. Just endless blue pretending to be peace. I envy her. Monsters don't have to explain themselves. People try to explain her away, though. Submarines, seismic vents, schools of fish. You'd think humans would be good at lying by now. But they're terrible at it. They build a world full of cracks, then call the darkness between them science. Still, I like when they pretend. Keeps the mile hungry. Keeps me eating. There's a room. Maybe you've heard. They say there's a tunnel beneath the lake, carved into the mountain itself. Old miners' history. Others say it connects Pyramid Lake, 40 miles north. A vein through the rock, deep, dark, older than men with hair. I'm not talking about blood. I don't know if that's true, but I've seen things slip through this water that didn't belong to one side or the other. Tessie doesn't swim. She moves through. That's what they never understood. She's not bound to the lake. She is the lake. Maybe that's why she and I get along. Two old things pretending to have boundaries. Once, I think, she tried to speak to me. I was parked up on the ridge, engine dying, waiting for the mile to stir again. Fog rolled in thick. Thicker than headlights could cut. I thought I was the wind at first. Then I realized it was her voice through the water. Pushing through the mist. It sounded like my own name, but older. That's when I left. Even I know when to stop listening. I wonder if she remembers, or if it was her mother. I knew one down south, long before people fenced up the wild and started calling it California. She had eyes like storms, teeth in the night. They don't make monsters like that anymore. podcasts and documentaries now turn horror into comfort. Everyone wants to believe. No one wants to understand. That's why I keep driving. Someone's got to remind them that belief has a cost. That'll do. Tank's full enough. Regular grade story, bottled, processed, easy on the mind. Just enough to get back on the road. Tell me, whatever you are. You ever seen her yourself? Of course you haven't. The ones who do never say a word. They don't live long enough to. That hum? That's the sound of old things remembering they were alive once. Tahoe remembered. So does Tessie. So do I. Maybe I'll come back someday, trade her a story for a story. For now, I can't give you a ride. Not tonight. Gotta get back onto the mile where the real is. That premium stuff. You wouldn't survive it anyway.